Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's great to see everybody here. Appreciate everybody's incentive to come and listen and be involved. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order this evening on January 23rd, 2024, and ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guest?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Present. I wouldn't dare say here. I'll ask Commissioner Henderson to do the invocation, and we'll remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God of heaven, we come into your presence, and we are so grateful again for the privilege of being able to lay our heads on your heart. We thank you, God, for the invitation that you give us to come unto you and to and lay our heads upon your breast. Father, we thank you this afternoon or this evening for the privilege that you've given all of us to serve this community. And so we pray, oh God, for your wisdom and for your insight. We pray for our city employees, Lord God, and we pray specifically tonight for those who have been displaced. And we pray, God, not only do we see a problem, but we pray that we will find ourselves as part of that solution. God, we invite your presence here now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda tonight is an award. So I'd ask Jonathan to come forward. So Jonathan Pendergrass is an employee with the state of Kentucky, the Paducah Career Center, and works. He's part of the workforce development team, and he's a workforce specialist. And his the state of Kentucky, and I believe Jason is here tonight. Jason Hutchinson has nominated him for a Duke of Paducah Award based upon his performance over the last 20 years, but in particular during COVID, when jobs were so difficult. Jonathan was, a driving force in workforce development and has been instrumental in providing employment and unemployment assistance and resources, for people in need. And we all know that during the pandemic how challenging workforce development was. So it gives me great honor tonight, Jonathan, to make this award and make you officially a Duke of Paducah. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks for
again.
coming here. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda tonight is something we're annually required to do as a city, and that's get a presentation, an audit presentation. And so is David Hampton here?
En route. I wonder if we could jump to the next presentation. Is that possible?
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So that means, Alan, you're on. We have Alan Treese with Paducah Public Schools. He's responsible for Hello Community Schools Grant. And who is with you? I'm sorry.
David Anderson.
Okay, I'm sorry, David. All right, Alan, you're on.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, Mr. Mayor, City Manager, Commission, Lady Clerk. I was really counting on John to kind of warm you guys up with some great financial content this morning or this afternoon before it's my turn, but I will jump in, not a problem. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about a couple things tonight. Paducah City Schools and McCracken County Schools were both recipients of a community schools grant. There we go. It's an initiative that is led by the Pritchard Committee. If you're familiar with them, they do a lot of great education initiatives across the country. Kentucky is kind of a pilot program for this community schools model that they've come up with. A lot of people are kind of watching to see what we do with this opportunity. There's been 20 school districts that were awarded this grant opportunity across the state of Kentucky. 4 were actually awarded last summer. So they're about 6 months into the process. We're one of the cohort that came this past fall, so we're just now getting started with it. But it's going to bring a lot of great opportunities for, as you would guess from the title, Community Schools Grant, to get our community involved with our education. Specifically looking at barriers and different things that we identify that we need to kind of remove to help our kids get a better education moving forward. A little content here, kind of about the why. The Pritchard Committee has established some pillars that they use to kind of as a foundation for their community school model. What we're doing right now this spring semester is a lot of research. So we're looking at all of our programs we're currently offering across the school district, especially with our family resource centers. And we're kind of plugging in those programs in those pillars to kind of see where they fit and try to identify, you know, what's working really well. Here's a list of some of the school districts. What's working really well and what programs could work even better with a little bit more time, effort, and resources provided by the grant. We'll identify 3 of those, but the big heavy lifting part of the grant is going to come when we look at those pillars and we find out where are the gaps, where are the things that we're not addressing right now, where are the areas that, you know, no matter what we're doing, we're just not hitting the mark. That's where we'll come in and we'll do some planning with our community involved to kind of identify what resources are existing in the community. How can we get those plugged in to reduce those barriers? Looking across, you know, the landscape of education, there's a lot of different things, directions that could go in, but really trying to figure out what are those solutions that are already existing. How can we get those in place to help remove those barriers, make education better for our kids? As Pastor said just a minute ago, we all want to be part of the solution. You know, I firmly believe that our community has the resources to solve a lot of the dilemmas that we face today, but a lot of times just getting the right people in the right place in the room at the right time. These are the pillars that I've been mentioning that we'll go through this spring, kind of plugging in our programs and figuring out where they all kind of fit in. The next step in our process is going to be our community meetings. We've already done a lot of survey work with our staff, our kids, our families. Community involvement is going to be the next stage in February. We'll have some community meetings where our community members will come in and be led by the Pritchard Committee on what a community school can look like, but then also have an opportunity to see where those gaps are that will come from our community assessments, our surveys, and help us identify who needs to be at the table to address those needs. Whether it's absenteeism, whether it's achievement gaps, whatever those gaps may be, our community will have the opportunity to provide input on how to best, you know, work with those, who needs to be there, how to address them. That's what's exciting to me about this approach. You know, I've worked with kids my entire adult life, but this is a unique opportunity. This is going to be more than just saying, okay, we're going to offer a breakfast club or an after-school tutoring program. Those are obviously important and needed, but this is an opportunity to really look at the root causes. You know, what's really the cause of some of these issues that we're seeing? Whether it's absenteeism, you know, is it transportation? Is it because, you know, the kid's just not engaged anymore, they've lost hope? You know, what are the real reasons why we're seeing that? And I'm just using that as one of the examples. Really digging down to those things and then addressing the issues. Who are the partners? Who do we need to partner with? What resources can we provide as a community? And if there's not something there, then we can look at, okay, how can we use this grant to engage those kids to remove those barriers? But without trying to reinvent the wheel, we want to use the community to get that input, to drive that process. As I mentioned, the community meetings are probably the next step. So our first one will be in February 2nd. We'll have a follow-up meeting in March as well. That first meeting is going to be a really think big, let's picture what a community school can look like. That second meeting is going to be really data-driven, survey work, school data, you know, showing where those gaps are, and then coming back to that third meeting with our actual action plan. Here are the things we're going to do starting in the fall, in the school year. Hopefully, you know, having some opportunity to maybe do some pilot programs, you know, prior to that as well, but really thinking about next school year. So this spring being more in the planning phases. Some of the outcomes that we would expect to see across the board kind of with your community schools, you know, the biggest thing that's going to come out of all this is the removing of barriers, but also that community engagement. You know, a lot of times everybody's familiar with how grants work. You know, grant funding leaves, sometimes programs disappear. The goal of this is to make something sustainable, okay? It's not to just throw grant funds at it, because then when you remove that funding, it disappears. It's to build those relationships in the community to where it's sustainable and it can last well beyond the 5-year period of the grant program. Definitely would love to talk with you guys more about this. There's a lot more to come as we really get in the process, but I really wanted to make sure that I got the chance to talk to you guys as a group to kind of let you know what we're working on. It's a great opportunity for our community. As I said, McCracken County Schools also awarded this grant. Mark Mabligano is here tonight from McCracken County Schools. Their two focus schools are McCracken County High School and Reland Elementary, and our focus schools will be Morgan Elementary and Paducah Tillman High School. That being said, when we're developing these programs, these barriers, there's going to be some that things that we come across that can help kids in other schools. So while it is focused on those schools and grants are going to be used where grants are supposed to be used, if we find opportunities to help other schools and build programs there, why would we not? So there's going to be a lot of great opportunities that are going to come out of this grant besides just what we identified with those schools as well.
Alan, before you
Yes.
move on,
Yes.
I think you're moving off this subject maybe soon. So the pilot schools.
Yes.
Is there any data that's come back from the programs in those schools as to, some of the benefits, some of the results?
Yes, so they started in July. So their data process was all last fall. So they're just now launching their programs this month. Now, what I can tell you, I was fortunate, Owensboro and Davies County, both in the same community, were awarded the grant similar to us in McCracken. I was able to go to their last community meeting right around Christmas time, right before they launched their programs. And I left that meeting, feeling extremely confident in our ability here to be successful, because what I saw there was community engagement I was not expecting. I mean, you had your school principals, your school family resource centers at the same table with your hospital vice presidents, your business leaders, freely sharing ideas and feedback. Hey, here's what we're seeing. Hey, here's where we can help. Hey, have you looked at this direction? Have you talked to this person? That was a big takeaway for me, is getting to see that in person and really kind of put everything together. And then knowing our community, I really think this is an awesome opportunity that doesn't come around very often, to have the ability to really think outside the box and do something about it. Whereas a lot of times you're kind of restricted with grants, specific focuses. This is going to be a little bit more wide-ranging to where we can really think about unique opportunities and partnerships.
Okay.
Great question. Anybody else have any questions? I am going to move on to something else real quickly that's near and dear to my heart. It's kind of a passion project, but it's also something that's going to tie in, I believe, with our community school as well when we start looking at workforce development. Years ago in the city of Paducah, when I was a kid, we had a summer youth work program. It was started by Bobby Jones, who was a great man in this community, helped a lot of kids. He's a former Paducah Board of Education member, retired from the plant. Wonderful guy. Started a workforce program for kids, placing them in jobs throughout the city, giving them that workforce development, that opportunity to get their first job. Mr. David Anderson's here with me tonight. He's going to talk just briefly about his experience as someone that came through that program. But it is something, it's a passion of mine because I've seen the results. I've seen kids go through that program and go off and be successful. I've seen, the impact that it has on them, but then also looking at the landscape today when we're in a time where it is hard to get some of our youth to get jobs. They don't necessarily want to go out and work. If that's something from COVID or whatnot, that is a difficulty. We have employers, school districts, city, where you have jobs that are available for local talent. And we all can agree that we want to develop our local talent, keep them here, get them in jobs. It makes perfect sense to have a partnership with the city to bring back that workforce program, to get the kids in those positions locally so they can see what's available to them here, experience it, but also tie in some development pieces where we can get them and teach them about financial literacy, those things throughout their work experience. And it leads to so many more great things down the road, from not just filling your needs during the summertime, but potential co-op programs. We already have successful programs for co-op coming from our hub throughout the city of Paducah with employers. So it opens up so many avenues. It makes perfect sense why it's important to have this partnership now. And I think my ask of you guys as a city body and as a city government would be to, think about how we can use this as an opportunity to rebuild a program, bring something back that was extremely impactful to so many kids over the years, many of which have gone on to successful careers. It's a great opportunity to really invest in them, but also meet some of our needs as a community as far as keeping our kids here and filling jobs. This is just a kind of a sample plan that we put together, just looking at some numbers. If we did a pilot program this summer, small group, 10 kids between the city and the county, or between the city and the school district, identifying some of those jobs, getting them placed in, doing the workforce piece as well. When you look at that projected cost, I don't want you to get sticker shock on that because I know, it's budget time and everybody has programs and things that they're looking for. One thing to consider when we're considering this program is a lot of these jobs, opportunities, or positions we already have built in our budgets that we're trying to fill. Okay, these are not necessarily new jobs we're creating. These are jobs that may be vacant that we could fill with some of these program. So it's not necessarily new money that we'd be looking for. We're really trying to fill jobs and think outside the box on how we do it. So that would be kind of my, thought as far as when we talk about any kind of budgeting or anything of that nature moving forward. But it is something that I would love to see, and we have full support with the school district as well to partner with the city on this program and then hopefully grow it, in years to come beyond those first 10 pilot program kids.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Are you saying that the school system will partner with the cost of this?
I think we definitely want to have those discussions and see, what the interest is from the city as a whole, what opportunities there are to make this thing work. Obviously, we've got, kids, we've got positions in our district, but also the city does as well. We've already heard from a number of businesses that have kind of heard about this idea and they want to be involved, but I think starting it small and reasonably and building it out makes a lot of sense. But I think at this point, all options are on the table for a partnership with the city and the school district for sure.
Gotcha. Thank
This is my final slide here. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. David Anderson. He's going to speak really briefly about kind of the impact it had on him and his career. But I would say, this is a picture from, 2000. Great number of individuals in this picture have gone on to really amazing things in their lives. I wish we could kind of go through one by one and tell you about all of them, but time won't allow for us to do that. But, it really does kind of capture what we're looking at. Taking these young kids, investing in them, making them be the best people they can be, give them those opportunities. Because that's one thing that we see a lot of times, kids that don't get those opportunities don't have the opportunity to really get out and be the best person they can be. And that's what we want to do is provide that opportunity, give them that vision, and create that network of local jobs that they can then pull from and participate in. I went over my time. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. David Anderson real quick.
You're stepping over his time, so.
I know, he's back here nudging me, so.
I'm pretty sure I can condense the time as quickly as possible. My name is David Anderson. I want to say good evening to every one of you all. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I came up in Paducah Tillman, Paducah resident. And when Alan first came to me saying he was going to present this idea, one of the things I thought about was being honored just the opportunity to speak. Secondly, was esteemed the fact that this is something that is being even envisioned again. Growing up, age 14 is when I first started summer youth. I did it 3 summers in a row. It taught me an immense amount of things. One, on the job dedication, how to make sure that one, I was here committed and willing to work. Secondly, it taught me how to, one, respect my community. I understood the job that was at hand. I understood the commitment that it was going to take, but I also understood the reward that we were going to get from it, not just a paycheck. The networking that we did with the older individuals that we didn't get to communicate with quite often, it was something that was beyond our control, but also beyond our wildest thoughts as well. Growing up with many of these individuals in this picture, when we first came to the summer youth, we were just looking for a paycheck. We were not looking for what it could provide for us. But now that I've grown up, the dedication and the amount of time and the amount of effort we put into this job has helped me in my current job. I'm now, again, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I am a sales director for Dell Technologies. I've been there for 18 years. I manage 12 managers who manage 152 reps. I've been successful at my job, not to pat myself on the back, but I've been successful at my job for a very long time. And I give a lot of that not to just my parents, but to the rewards and the success that came from being part of the summer youth program. It has taught us a lot of things that when we first got into the program, we had no idea we were going to learn. This is something that would be very essential to not only the individual who gets paid, but to the community. It builds a safer community. It brings an energy that cannot be felt by anything else from individuals going out here working and providing to the community. And then it also brings something back for you all as well. It brings growth. People want to be proud of where they live, and they want to be proud to see the things and the jobs that they're doing within the community. And so, again, like I said, when Alan asked me to do this, I was honored. And again, if I could do it all over, I would do this job as many times as possible because it taught us a lot of things as far as work ethic, respect, and the due diligence that it takes to get a job and to make sure that you're coming up with your own ends in order to spend, and like you said, the financial literacy part of it. As I'm getting paychecks, I want to make sure I'm spending it the right way. So if I'm getting out here working and I'm not just giving the money, it makes me use it in the right way, in the right manner, and I invest back into the city as well. So thank you all for this, Alan. I hope everything goes well with it. It was amazing. Again, looking at these individuals here, I think we
Are
would
you
all
in that
stand here.
picture?
You said,
Are
where
you
am
in
I?
that picture?
Yeah, I like not to point myself out. I'm right here. I'm that young man right there. A little bit hot, but it was an amazing time. And again, I would do it over and over again, and each one would stand here and tell you how important and how vital it was to the success that we have now. So thank you all.
Thanks, David.
We'd always welcome you to move back.
I keep trying.
Remotely.
I keep trying to get them to come back. Thank you guys for your time. I know I went over. I appreciate it. The grants and also opportunity. I think this is as well. Definitely more to come from both. Appreciate you guys' time this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Okay, we'll move back now and for our audit presentation from David Hampton with the Kemper CPA Group, and I think John Perkins has got a few items to add to that.
Okay.
Welcome.
You want to go ahead?
Welcome, David.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Sorry to throw everything out of whack. For some reason, I had in my mind it was a 5:30 meeting, but it's tax season. That's all I can say, guys. Sorry. So, like you said, I'm David Hampton. I'm with Kemper CPA Group, partner there, and I'm here to present your ACFord for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. First off, got to thank John, Audra, all the staff. Great bunch of guys, gals. Big help. Really appreciate their assistance. I think we've come a long way working with each other, and so really appreciate the effort on both sides. So it's a demanding process. There's a lot of information in your annual comprehensive financial report. So it takes quite a bit to get it all together. So I really appreciate all the effort they put in for us. And of course, we want to thank you all for the opportunity to continue serving your organization. So, so now to get to your audit report. Your annual comprehensive financial report consists of an introductory section. You have the financial section, which includes our auditor's report, the management discussion and analysis, all the basic financial statements and notes, and required and other supplemental schedules. You have a statistical section, and then there's a single audit section. So that's kind of an overview of the report. So on page 11 is our independent auditor's report. The second paragraph discloses our opinion, and as noted, we've determined these statements are fairly presented in all material respect. This is known as an unmodified or clean opinion, no gap departures. The fourth and fifth paragraphs discuss the responsibility of the city and our responsibilities as your auditors. As noted, the financial statements presented are the responsibility of the city, and we are responsible for expressing an opinion on these statements. In addition, as noted in the fourth paragraph on the next page, page 12, we did apply limited procedures to the required management discussion and analysis, as well as the other post-employee benefits and pension supplemental informations on pages, those are on pages 14 through 29 for the management discussion and analysis, and 104 through 109 for your pension and other post-employee benefits supplementary information. We did not audit this information, so accordingly we don't express an opinion on this information. And then as noted, we did apply auditing procedures to other supplementary information. It's on pages 110 through 129, as well as the schedule of expenditures of federal awards on pages 150 and 51, and determined that these statements and schedules are fairly presented in all material respect. And as noted on the second page, on second paragraph on page 13, we did not audit the introductory or statistical section, so accordingly we don't express any opinion on those as well. So that's the conclusion of our independent auditor's report. Our next report is located near the back, back on pages 152 and 153. This is required under the governmental auditing standards. This report discloses our findings, if any,
regarding the city's internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with certain laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements in accordance with governmental auditing standards. As noted in the second paragraph, our responsibility is to consider the city's internal control over financial reporting for the purpose of planning and performing our audit, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion. So accordingly, we do not express an opinion on the city's internal controls. So with that in mind, note in paragraph 4, we did not identify any deficiencies as material weaknesses which are required to be reported under governmental auditing standards. In addition, as noted in the next paragraph, paragraph 5, as part of obtaining a reasonable assurance whether the city's financial statements are free of material misstatements, we did perform tests of compliance with certain laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. And as noted, we noted no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under governmental auditing standards. The last report is on pages 154 and 155. This is required by the U.S. Office of Management and Uniform Guidance Compliance Supplement. This report discloses any non-compliance, if any, regarding the city's compliance that could have a direct or material effect on the provisions of the city's major programs or grant agreements. These are your federal award grants. As noted in the second paragraph, in our opinion, the city has complied in all material respects with the type of compliance that could have a material or direct effect on each of its major programs. As noted in paragraph 5, compliance with federal statutes, regulations, contracts, grant applicable to federal programs is management's responsibility. As noted in paragraph 6, our responsibility is to consider compliance for the purposes of planning and performing to ensure that the city has complied with the type of compliances that could have a direct or material effect on your major federal programs. In addition, the city is responsible for effective internal controls over compliance. And as noted in paragraph 5 on the next page, we noted no instances of noncompliance or other matters requiring to be reported under uniform guidance. And that basically concludes our reports. Is there any questions you have for me as your auditor?
Yeah, when do you start the auditing procedures? I mean,
We usually start about the second week of September. And it's a pretty big process to get through it. It's a 500-hour plus job.
so is most of that time spent in City Hall, or is it spent?
It's probably about 70-30,
Okay.
around that.
And then you start in September and you conclude by?
Usually we will have a draft to the city no later than November 15th. That's what we target for in our engagement letter. I think I missed it a day or two this year. Wasn't it about the 17th order before you got it? Something like that. Normally I get it there before then. I try to actually get you a draft by November 1st.
Okay.
That's always what my target date is. And then it's got to go through a review process, both by the city, it goes through a review process by our quality control. It's independently reviewed by a partner outside of our office. So,
Okay.
by the time we get it all done, it's mid-December or later.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Anybody?
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Well, again,
Thank you very much.
We appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available for you all at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Let me grab that out of your way.
Yeah, just hang on to them. It'd be a couple bullet points in, but I'll tell you when. Okay, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Clerk. See if I can move some of this out of the way here. Always have more than I need. So I'm here to tell you the exciting financial story of the city of Paducah. And I'm going to do it as few words as possible and few pictures as possible, but the pictures I think will be helpful. First of all, without naming names, in the newspaper there have of late been other governmental agencies that have had difficulties with audit findings, and we're not one of those. We have no audit findings. We have no reportable conditions. We have a good report card, and we're financially healthy, and here's why. Revenues are solid and trending positive. Expenses are well managed by the leadership team. Now, I want to take a look at a graphic here, see if I can get this to go. And I'm going to focus just on the general fund because that's what most people understand. We actually have a total of 21 different funds. This tells a good story. This goes back 3 years. These are audited numbers. The green is money that's coming in, and the red's outgo expenses going out. In each of the last 3 years, including the year that David just talked about, we've come out ahead. It's good stuff. And then also, Auditor, Auditor's going to hand out a couple of different documents here. In your downtime, I'm sure you'll enjoy reading some of this stuff. This is actually an excerpt out of that document you just looked at. It is referred to as the audit report, but it's in actuality the annual comprehensive financial report. But if you read these pages 11 through 29, or rather 14 through 29, you'll know everything you ever wanted to know about the city's financial picture. And it's primarily written, it's supposed to be written for people that are investors, people that own bonds and things like that. So this is very difficult. So we also have another document, and this is something that Auditor had read about. It's put out by the Government Finance Officers Association. It's called the PAFR. That stands for Popular Annual Financial Report. It's actually been on the web, our website now, the city's website, for about a month, I think. And it's written in layperson language. It's easy to read, and it's the first one we've ever done. And you can see it on the website, like I said, for the detailed story. It has lots of graphics. And I would highly recommend you look at that if you haven't seen that. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll try to make this as brief as I possibly can. But in summary, with good financial practices in place and a culture of accountability coupled with continued financial success, we're in a very good position to invest in our future based on our Board of Commission priorities. And it's all good stuff. Now, I know I've talked.
So this, what you call it, PAFR? PAFR?
PAFR, yeah.
So this is the first year for
First year
this?
we've ever done it, and we're applying for a national award for it.
Okay.
It's been applied for.
So it'd be really good, to do our best to try to point our citizens to this on the website where
It
they
is
can
an
take a
excellent
look.
source. It is.
Because I think most people, when they start looking at our financials, it's really easy to get lost.
They're sleepers, I agree.
So it would be really good to socialize this as much as possible. So something we can talk to Pam about.
Absolutely. And again, it's on our website. It's been out there for a while. But to push people to go look at it, it's a good thing. It's our first foray into it, and we hope to get a national award for it. We'll see. And we looked at other cities that had done something. We'll continue to make it better and better. And the intention is really, it's not for the bondholders. That's not what that's for. It's for the common, taxpayer. It's for the taxpayers who it's for.
Yep.
And
that's who needs to see it.
That's exactly right. They are our shareholders, so to speak. Now, the big book that you have in front of you, that book, starting back in, 30 years ago, they were trying to redevelop that so that it was more user-friendly, and I think that has not worked out real well. We have difficulty reading some of this stuff, and I know that even the auditors, it's a continuous process to try to understand how that works, so we're moving more back toward the simpler things so that you really get the idea. You got to know, if you don't know where you've been, you can't know where you're going to go. And so that's kind of why we're trying to make it simple. And you see what we've done. We've had hiccups over the years, and we will. But I think as long as we have upward trends, the economy is solid, and we continue to manage what we do and don't do anything crazy, I think everything's a pretty good place. And we have, I think, an excellent culture of accountability. I think people understand that we will be held to account.
Great job. Nothing more from me.
Yeah, great job.
So John, on the PAFR, on page 10, am I reading that on our, when we're benchmarking ourselves against some general comparison, particularly
Yes.
Hopkinsville and Owensboro,
Yep.
that we are investing more per capita back into our citizens than our benchmark, and we have a lower debt ratio than those two comparisons?
Yeah, we intentionally tried to pick cities that were like size or as close as we could get, and tried to, we didn't know. We were just kind of curious, and it's highly recommended that you do that. So again, putting things in context is always helpful. We can say we're the greatest, but if we don't have something to compare it to, then you really don't know what the truth is. And so those are just some of the items that we compare ourselves to. You can see we're not necessarily, in this case, we are the smallest as far as population, but as far as some of the other things, we're right up there with the big dogs. It's pretty amazing once we saw that.
Thank you.
It's good data.
I think it'd be neat to point out, like,
There you go.
when we were talking about appealing to the citizenry and them having the ability to understand and comprehend a little bit of what the report, the big report is about. Like on page 4, I found this graphic as we were researching how to put this together, and we built kind of a color code and tried to put it in simple terms. Assets are in the red, what the city owns. Liabilities are in yellow, what the city owes. Blue is what is available for the future, and then took those colors down to the actual numbers to try to explain to a citizen what those terms mean. And so that was, I just thought that was kind of neat as we were putting this together to look at other communities and what their PAFRs look like, and we're able to find some of the components that I thought would really appeal to the citizenry. And I know y'all been talking about transparency and things like that, and I thought, that finding things that would help draw a picture, to be quite frank.
That's the
Right.
bottom line,
Would,
pictures
yeah.
are best, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my favorite graphic that really simplifies it.
We tried to convert it from nerd speak to your speak.
Well, I mean, there's a reason that people make auditor and accountant and actuary jokes. There's a reason those jokes exist.
Very
We're
true.
boring, and
And we like it.
and they're not pretty stories.
It's excellent.
Great information.
So
Thank
it's-
you.
Thank you.
It's
And Audra,
great.
thank you. I know you spent a lot of time getting this
Great.
first PAFR together and all the work, and I appreciate it.
Thanks. It's
Yes.
probably my favorite project I've ever
Yeah.
done. I enjoyed it
Yeah.
because I was able to take numbers that had already been crunched
And you're good at it.
and make something pretty
Yeah.
with it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank both of you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on now at this point. City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening?
Okay, so we're going to move to the consent agenda, and items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless one of our board members so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval unless there's anybody that wants an item removed. And so I think you can move on.
Approve minutes for the January 9th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Edward Healy to the Electric Plant Board. Said term shall expire February 6th, 2028. Appointment of Mark Anderson to the Civic Beautification Board. Said term shall expire July 1st, 2027. Personnel actions. A municipal order approving a fleet maintenance motorized equipment and emergency apparatus service agreement with the Ballard Fiscal Court to provide fleet maintenance services at hourly rates and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the finance director to make payment to Asset Works Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $230,000 for year 1 and not to exceed $40,000 per year for years 2 through 5 for for work order inventory and asset management software for the Public Works and Parks Departments, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with Tyler Technologies in an amount of $2,995 related to an increase in SaaS maintenance fees and credit card terminal fees. A municipal order authorizing the application for and acceptance of a fiscal year 2025 highway safety grant in the amount of $41,000 through the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for overtime pay for officers, and the purchase of 4 moving radar units, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order adopting the Purchase Ad Regional Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan 2023 update for the City of Paducah, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a resolution. I'll let the city clerk please read it, and then we'll discuss it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution Declaring the City of Paducah, Kentucky a Nuclear-Ready Community and Reaffirming Support to Reindustrialize the U.S. Department of Energy Site."
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Wilson, would you like to lead in on this one a little bit and just talk a little bit about this resolution and, excuse me, your involvement with the reindustrialization study? I think it'd be good for all of us to get an overview of that.
Well, I'm happy to talk about our part of it. As far as the Paducah Chamber was awarded a grant from the Department of Energy to lead the study for reindustrialization of the site. We all know that the cleanup has been going on now for about 10 years. It's expected to continue for another 30 to 40 years, but we don't want to wait until the site is cleaned up before we begin reindustrialization. So this study is about a 1.5 to 2 year study. It will look at land that's available now to transfer to the community. I think it will flow through to the Community Reuse Organization and may then from there be transferred to the Industrial Development Authority. They would then have ownership. So there's certain land available now that we believe that we could go ahead and begin to transfer. So we're working through that process. We'll be looking at economic development projects that would consider going to that site, and then the workforce that would be needed for that as well, and what kind of economic development projects would be the best fit for our community. All of that's to be determined. There's nothing coming in saying that this will go there, this won't. It's all to be determined through the study.
Yeah, I think it's very timely. I think Commissioner Smith works for the Department of Energy, so he's very familiar with a lot of the work that's going on out there. Would you?
But actually, that's one reason why I will need to abstain from this.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it concerns my.
So, you know, I'm work with on the GPAD board, and we're working on economic development projects. This is, you know, this issue, this reindustrialization study and land transfer is, you know, is becoming, you know, more and more of an important topic, you know, as we think about the future. And the McCracken County Fiscal Court a couple of weeks ago adopted this same nuclear-ready commitment for the community, and we felt that the city needed to, you know, consider doing the same thing. And I just go back and talk about our history here. I mean, we built the nuclear plant there in the 1950s. And it's been an important part of our community now for 70 years. And it's employed a lot of people. And it's really determined, you know, for many people, a very high quality of life. And as we clean up the site, there's got to be a determination made of exactly where we go with that. And this resolution basically declares, you know, the city of Paducah, as a member of McCracken County, nuclear-ready community, and which we have been a nuclear-ready community for a long, long time. So this is really a reaffirmation of support to reindustrialize that site out there. So,
Mayor, I would also add that the University of Kentucky did a study several years ago about the future of the site called Community Visions, had a lot of community meetings. We sat in rooms and voted on a lot of different options, and reindustrialization was by far what people wanted for the site. The study that's being conducted is also looking at what Oak Ridge, Tennessee did. They've been closed many more years than Paducah and are way advanced and in fact pretty well finished with a lot of their steps of closing that plan and moving toward reindustrialization, and have seen great success with that as well. Portsmouth, Ohio is in the same, that they are ahead of us. Paducah was the last site to come into the environmental management of the Department of Energy. And so lessons are being learned from both of those sites. And of course, our community, the city and the county are both members of Energy Communities Alliance, which is a national trade association for energy communities. The municipalities, Judge Clymer and I both attend a lot of those meetings. They had a meeting here in Paducah in May. So we are following what has worked well in other communities.
so any questions or comments from any other commissioners? We all good?
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I'm sorry. You didn't say you were going to call on me, so I didn't have it outlined as much. Also, the state, if you'll know, has been looking at this as well. They, as far as nuclear energy, they established a working group that will most likely be going into a full-on study group for the state of Kentucky. We know the state of Tennessee has just put incentives in for a lot of different projects. So there's a lot of discussion across the country of nuclear energy being ready, but clean energy is the biggest part of that, and that's what DOE is focusing on.
Yeah. My final comment would be is that this is a big opportunity, for Paducah, McCracken County, and all of western Kentucky and the surrounding counties. So,
Yeah, I believe the Ballard Fiscal Court either already has or plans to pass this as well. I think they already have.
okay, if there's no other comments, questions, or thoughts, I'll ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Abstain.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. We have 3 municipal orders to approve tonight, and the first one is the recommendation for the Paducah Outdoor Sports Complex. So I'll ask the city clerk to read it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving the Proposed Construction Plans for the Paducah Sports Park as recommended by the McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission and in accordance with the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement for the Development and Operation of the Paducah-McCracken County Athletic Complex."
So moved.
Second.
So this is really this is part of the agreement, the interlocal agreement we have with the county. Both government bodies have to approve for us to go forward. We've gotten an initial estimate of costs, but we really won't know what the final costs are until the bids actually come in. So this is our approval to go forward so we can take a look at what that's actually going to be. So any comments, questions? Okay.
Did the county vote on this? I'm assuming last night they voted in favor. I didn't see that. I never saw
That is
the
my
results from
understanding.
their
Yeah, that is my
meeting
understanding.
last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
That there was no issues last night.
Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, the next municipal order has to do with our fee changes on solid waste. We've had multiple discussions about this, trying to come up with the right solution and the right timing, so I'll ask our city clerk to read it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Amending the Schedule of Fees and Charges for Solid Waste Pickup Pursuant to the Solid Waste Ordinance, Chapter 94, Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Kentucky."
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we had quite a discussion about this 2 weeks ago, City Manager, you want to just give us an outline of kind of where we are and what we're approving?
Yeah, Mayor, Commission, Chris is here also, and again, thank you, Chris, for all your hard work on this effort. Do we have a slide on this one? Madam Clerk? So if you'll recall, Mayor and Commissioners, last week or last commission meeting, we talked about a 2-year phase-in of getting the refuse rates up to market conditions. And so we took what the feedback also on that we talked about last time, and the feedback that you gave us in relationship to the additional rollouts, the secondary units, and applied the percentage increase. So we were, starting at a base of was it $8 or $8.50, Chris? I can't remember. $8.50, and then taking that up to the second one. So taking that 25% increase, and that's how we came to those. Out to the side, you see the notes about the additional rates on the rollouts. All the other information is as we presented to you last time. So Chris, was there anything else that you wanted?
Yes, this actually, as we presented last time, there are a couple of changes that's in the actual packet that you have, and that'll be what will actually be put out for general acknowledge. For example, the fee for the extra rollout is not correct on this sheet, but we have the correct one for everyone. But it's basically getting where we need to be over a 2-year period, which also includes the option for citizens to opt into curbside recycling with no additional charge once we get to the second
In
year.
year 2.
In year 2,
Yeah.
yes, sir. And that's something we know we're going to have to educate the public on as well as ourselves. And we have some interesting things coming up in 26 that may allow us to collect more types of recyclables. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mayor.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is that, as part of the phase-in, and you notice, and as we talked about in the past, is that, that 3rd year, we have the base rate that's been established, and the new rates are established on July 1 of each year. And then, so starting in year 3, which would be July 1 of 2026, you would have the rate that had been approved the previous year, and then the consumer price index as it relates to sanitation and refuse collection is added on top of that. In any given year, the commission retains, as read in the municipal order, the right to not take that. And so it's an automatic, but you can always say, we don't need to take it in that given year. And to keep the financing, clear, we also round up to the next 50 cents on that. So if you came in and say it was $26.43, it would be $26.50 for ease of reporting on that.
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple things. I mean, I've talked to a couple people lately, we're talking just socializing the fact that we're going to eventually have, no cost for recycling. And, I hear things like, I know I need to recycle, but I'm just, they don't say I'm too lazy, but they, they say I just don't go to the effort to do it, So there's an educational component from that standpoint to try to convince people that it's the right thing to do. I've also heard, all the recycling stuff goes all to the same place, so it doesn't matter. So you hear that. So that's an educational component. And then the way people put their trash in the bins is also another educational component. So we've got quite a bit of education, to do, between now and July 1st, and really on an ongoing basis, after that. And that's going to take, I really think it's an effort by all of us, to communicate the advantages and what we're trying to accomplish here. So,
And we've been talking about it for years, and I appreciate you all taking the leadership to enact it and move forward with it. So it's not, and I always want to tell a story. I just, within the last several months, started curbside recycling. I used to take mine to the drop-off center, and I decided to start doing curbside, and give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it, to be honest with you. And just think, it takes a little effort, but what do you want to leave to your grandkids and your kids in the future as far as planet Earth is concerned? So,
You have an idea what the educational plan might be?
well, need to get with Pam Spencer to work through that. We're going to need some assistance with that, to be direct, to be efficient, to not be pushy, because there's some people come from other communities and they do different things. We get calls all the time, well, I was in California and this is what they accepted there. Well, it's just a little different. We're trying to get there, and we want to accept as many types of recyclables that are out there, but we just have to have the resources and our transfer folks do that. And currently, for example, we only take, I believe it's 1 and 2 plastics. There are a lot of 5 plastics out there. Can they not be recycled? I don't know, but that's something we need to look into and see what we can do to expand the program.
I also want to point out that, we didn't knee-jerk this decision. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about it, and also we phased it in over a couple of years, rather than taking, what appears to me to be the needed increase pretty much immediately. But we wanted to, give people a chance to adjust. And because we know it's anybody that's on a fixed income, anybody that's in a particular situation, that this is a big expense for them.
That's right.
And so we try to treat it in that manner. So I feel like we've arrived in a good spot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Getz?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
Great job, Chris. Okay, we got one more municipal order. This has just come up, and it's a contract extension for the dog park, and I'll let our city clerk read it and ask our city manager to explain it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Adopting Contract Modification Number 1 to the Construction Contract with Everard, Kentucky Division, Inc. for the construction and relocation of dog parks in Noble Park, to extend the contract by 30 calendar days and to remove the installation of 2 shelters from consideration of liquidated damages until after the final completion date of April 5th, 2024, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract modification and all other documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
I'm actually going to let Amy.
I was going to say, I'll let you take it away. So we did receive a request from the contractor for an extension to the contract. It is, there's no monetary change at this time. We've had a lot of wet weather. That's the primary driver. I think we're on day 26 of wet conditions out at the site, and so they just haven't really been able to do a whole lot. The original contract completion date was February 5th, which is just right around the corner. So they did request an extension, and we've agreed to the 30 days, which puts substantial completion at March 6th, and then final completion on April 5th.
So if it keeps raining.
They will probably come back with another request. Yes.
I'm not a weather forecaster, but I did look at the 45-day
Yeah.
outlook.
Stayed at Holiday Inn last
And
night.
that's right. The 45-day outlook does pretend to be drier over that 45 days and warmer, so we're hopeful that we won't have to come back. The one point that, just for clarification or for further understanding, is that the shelters that we talked about, and we have pulled those out from the completion date of substantial completion because we have been notified that there is a delay from the contractor in shipping those. But the most recent information is that would be on site in time for the final completion date. So that would...
The new final completion date.
Correct. Yes.
And so so for those to arrive, but we will, if we don't have to have any, or if weather is good, they will still be building the bases and all that. We will not be waiting for those to come on site to get everything ready. So once they are, it is only the shelters themselves that, in that aspect, that has been pulled out. And so we'll have the base ready to be installed as soon as they come on site. And
Right.
then the other, which was originally held off, but because it has to do with the asphalt plants, is the final coating of the road and stuff like that. That is also not in that initial date. So, but we will still also be working with the Sports Tourism Commission and the changeover from having the dog park in Noble ready to go before we shut off the other one.
Okay.
So even with the delay, the plan is to have this one completed before. I just think that's an important
Yep.
fact that people need to remember.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not going to be without a dog park.
Thank you.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, don't
Okay.
have a dog, but I'm glad.
It's
Right.
very important.
It-
It's very important.
It's very important. I know, we will.
it's very important, so. Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Thank you, Amy.
We have one ordinance to adopt. This is the acceptance of the new property out on Pines Road, and I'll let city clerk read it.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance approving the final report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the proposed final subdivision for property located at 3315 Pines Road, authorizing the mayor to execute the final plat of subdivision for the Woodland Property on Pines LLC, accepting the irrevocable letter of credit in an amount of $350,000 as surety for completion of the public improvements, accepting the dedication of the public right-of-way and easements as shown on the said final plat, and authorizing the mayor to subscribe a certificate of approval on the plat. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the final report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the proposed final subdivision for the property known as Woodland Property on Pines LLC subdivision, and accepts the dedication of the public right-of-way and public utility easements shown on the plat. Further, the city accepts the irrevocable letter of credit number 402 in the amount of $350,000 for surety of the completion of the street, curbs, gutters, stormwater management, and right-of-way in the development that meets minimum standards as required by the City of Paducah Engineering Department pursuant to the City of Paducah Code of Ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Okay, call roll, please.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. And so that completes the majority of our agenda. The final thing is whether or not we got any comments from any of our commissioners?
Well, I think I'll say something real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. When we began the whole process of shutting down the Civic Center, and we had some concern from some of the community as to the size and what it would seat and what it would cost. And as we get closer to this whole process of opening up, I've really wanted to make sure that particularly our pastors and congregations understood, saw what was going on, understood everything that was happening, had an opportunity to ask questions, particularly about the fees and all that, because that was an issue. And I just wanted to take this time to thank Amy and her staff for doing a superb, phenomenal job hosting the pastors who were there. And after talking to them, they were very pleased with what they saw. And I just asked them if they would be willing to go back to their congregations and encourage people to rent from the Civic Center. And they said they would, because they were impressed with what they saw. And a lot of the myths they heard were dispelled. So I just wanted to thank Amy.
When did they all get together?
We got together last Wednesday.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to make sure that we got together before the open house, which I think was scheduled then for the 31st. I think it's still scheduled.
We've had to postpone that.
Okay.
But the weather is also.
Yeah. Well, they got an opportunity and they were impressed, and I want to thank Ms. Clark and her staff for rolling out the red carpet, so to speak.
That's great. So how many pastors are there, you know?
I guess about 15 maybe, somewhere, about 15 maybe.
Oh, that's
Somewhere
good.
around there.
Well, I'm very excited about the open house whenever we're able to have it, because I think I think we need to work hard to get people in the community that have previously rented it.
Right.
Previously utilized it.
Absolutely.
You know, and those, because I think it's a space at a, you know, a fair price, you know, with some advantages for people who want to use it. And it'll be much upgraded.
Yeah. Well, they
you
were
know.
particularly impressed with the fact that there's going to be a city employee or Parks Department employee on site while they're having their activity. And they were also excited about the conference room that will be available free of charge. But they would not have known that had they not gotten there and seen it and heard it.
Good point. Good point. All right, if we can just get there, if we can just get to the open
We'll
house
get
and
there.
get it open. So, any other comments from anyone? City manager?
Yeah, Mayor, Commission, and just to remind the public, we also have this Thursday, just to clarify, another meeting in this room. It's a joint meeting with the fiscal court to go over the midpoint or the next step of the comprehensive plan, that joint comprehensive plan that we're engaged in. And so that will be Thursday in this room at 5 p.m.
Thank you. And I guess the only thing, I do have one comment I'll make. I mean, there's been a lot of news on this Noble Inn, you know, people being displaced out there. That's been a very challenging situation that the city's been working through for the last several days. I want to commend Chief Kyle and Chief Cherry and Deputy Chief Cherry and everybody that's, you know, been trying to keep people safe out there. I mean, it's very difficult to move people out of where they're living. You know, people don't understand that, and so we take that very seriously in terms of the way we go about that. We've been working very hard with a number of different agencies. We started out with 2 or 3 agencies that were helping find places, but, you know, 4 or 5 others have stepped up, you know, in the last 24 hours to help, you know, people. Paducah Independent School System, several families that were living out there have children in the independent school system, and so the independent school system's, you know, been working hard to try to, you know, find a place for those kids. So anyway, I just want to thank our staff and, you know, and just talk about the, you know, the challenge of having to go through that. I mean, I was over in Livingston County today. I went over to see the swearing in of the new county judge executive over there, who is, and most recently an attorney at the Bryant Law Center, who just got appointed by the governor. So I walk in the courthouse over there, and of course everybody in Livingston County, you know, sees our news. So they get the news, and that was the first question. Everybody, you know, man, that hotel over there. What's going on? What are you going to do? You know, that sort of thing. So it has been a challenging situation, and I think we're working through it as best we can.
Well, Mayor, I guess one of the concerns I have, I talked to a young man yesterday, maybe today, and he had already paid $700 and something for rent. And now he is having, as many of the other residents are having, a difficult time getting a refund on their money. So $700 is a lot of money, okay?
Right.
So what can we do? Can we find the country earth in for every day they do not return these people's money? I just feel like we should be doing something.
So,
in
and
that
I don't know,
process.
Chief Kyle is, or if you want to speak, did he leave or is he back here?
He left.
He left, okay, so
We need
he
to-
thought this
we
might
need-
come up, so he
we
left.
need to find
Yeah,
him because he
yeah,
knew this
that's
was
right.
coming.
No, it's a great question, Commissioner, and it's one that sadly, legally, we have no standing in that action. There's a contract between them and them. However, it is my understanding that the county attorney has been made aware of it, and that is the avenue of, and that also the state's been made aware of that also. Yeah, but legal standing, we can only provide the information, but we can't assess a fine for them in relationship to that aspect.
Yeah, thank you.
It does, and this is probably a conversation that we're going to have in future commission meetings, and that is, how much oversight
Right.
do we want to have over landlords and, folks, going through sort of an an annual inspection approval process? That's something that, we basically go out and we inspect when we think there's an issue or when we get notified there's an issue. There's no process on an annual or any sort of regular basis. And so I think that's an issue that I'm going to, bring up during our commission priority session. It'll be up to this.
The fire marshal does. I mean, they do annual. I have rental property. I mean, we have to give, smoke alarm, they walk through, the Section 8, which I don't know if any of those are on Section 8, but, there's the broken windows. I know that's an annual, but I don't know about a duplex, but I know all apartment buildings, which that would classify as an apartment building.
Yeah.
The fire marshal would be going through that annually.
Well, we certainly need to do something, I think, maybe more than what we're doing, because.
What is that process that the fire marshal goes through?
So they do, and your commissioner's correct. There is, in certain ones have higher level of inspection levels, and you mentioned, Section 8, that type of thing. Also, the health department also has to come in. If it's a hotel, there's annual inspections. This building actually had its annual inspection. And when they go through that, the sad part about it is you can't go out each week and check it.
Yeah.
It is an annual inspection. And
Rodents
so,
can show up,
so from this,
bugs, whatever.
and so when they did the annual inspection last time on this building, it did not have the violations of the missing smoke detectors or the electrical issues that were uncovered this time. It did not have, like I said, to the vermin, which is a health department regulation on that. And so outside of having enough staff to go in on a more regular basis, now, once we are aware, and this is a perfect example, we have been following up and allowing them and continuing the inspections. This, if you recall, this actual incident with this facility began last year, and then we continued. They would get it in order, they pass inspection, and then guess what? They don't keep it up. They don't follow through. They let it go down, and then
So we ask them to do things, but we don't go back.
No,
to
we
see.
do. No, we do, and they did.
It's an annual thing, so I think
Yeah.
maybe, a fourplex or a sixplex, you can get by, once a year might be okay, but a 45plex
Right.
might be, that
Right.
might be something for us,
Right.
or to charge the fire marshal, maybe
Right.
that's something monthly.
Right.
You need to go, maybe not look at every one of them, but every 12th one or something.
Yeah.
I just made that
Yeah.
up. I just.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but no, to your question, Mayor, yes, and so after the first initial, then they went back and they followed up with the previous ones, but then you have, sadly, in this instance, we have a management company that is not holding up to their end of the contractual agreement. And so, but to be able to stay occupied, they do have to, once the violation is in order, they do have to meet and come into
Yes,
compliance
yeah.
for them to stay open.
So we are doing something.
Well, I'm not suggesting that we're not doing
Right.
anything. I'm just simply saying that we probably need to do more, because this is the Country Hearth Inn today, another hotel, another apartment building a few months ago, and it's happening all over the city of Paducah with slumlords,
Yeah.
doing the same thing. It's the same thing going on. The Country Hearth Inn just got the news, but it's happening.
It's the bigger places.
I wish there was-
And the smaller places.
I wish there was a mechanism where we're putting an awful lot of labor into this. You've got all these different departments and all this effort. There seems like there's got to be some way where our fine structure, which reimburses us for all the effort. Now, there's a lot of labor involved in this. The stuff they're spending time on this, that's stuff that the other taxpayers, the services the other taxpayers are expecting, they're not getting those services. So there needs to be, punitive isn't the right word, but these people need to pay for the costs that they are costing our taxpayers
Right.
to police them.
Absolutely.
So, and that way, that kind of, I don't know if we have that capability.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to discuss improvement.
I agree with you. Obviously, what we've been doing isn't enough, so
Yeah.
I'm game for.
I think
Okay.
that's a good point, though, that you made, that there were people there that had paid in advance, because that's not really what you heard from the media coverage. It was that they hadn't paid, so they were turning off their power. And so those are people that have put money in to live there.
That's right.
I'm sure this is also stretching the resources of a lot of our nonprofits that are stepping up to help them.
Absolutely.
So it is a problem in the community that we need to try to find some way to address by working through the nonprofits, working through the landlords, inspection department.
Definitely an opportunity for a solution.
Okey dokey. All right, I think that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.